So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Facebook Marketing Fundamentals. It's a pleasure to be hosting you for the next couple of hours. So, I'm going to start all the way from ground zero and share with you some very basic information about the Facebook advertising system, what its capabilities are. It's basically smart advertising, right? So, right now, we're in an era of smart advertising, and therefore, as an advertiser, we need to be smart and figure out how to leverage the smart advertising algorithms that are already embedded in these platforms so that we allow the smart advertising system to do the heavy lifting, and therefore we don't have as human beings to think so much in that sense. Of course, you still need to guide the system. So let's start over here and firstly understand that the Facebook platform is a great platform. A couple of reasons, right? Number one, we have billions of people on the platform, and at the country level, we generally have 50 to 60% of our people on social media. The truth is that Google, particularly, these two very humongous channels, their reach has arguably exceeded that of traditional mass media. And by that I mean your newspaper, your radio, your television. And as digital entrepreneurs, the idea is to understand the advantages of a digital platform as opposed to mass media platform. So this is the first thing you need to understand. The advantage of leveraging a digital platform like Facebook ads is for you to be able to reach out to a far more specific segment than otherwise possible. So think about this. Even if you had all the money in the world and you wanted to target, for example, parents with children of ages under 10, well, it's not that you can't do that through traditional mass media. You could still run an ad on radio, put an ad on newspaper and television. But if you do that, your reach is not limited to just parents with children below 10 years old. You cannot tell the radio DJ, can you tell those non-parents and parents with children 10 and above to not listen to my ad? And can I only pay you for that segment of people I'm targeting? Not possible. So regardless of your segment, the problem with traditional mass media is that you will end up paying for a much wider audience, even though that wider audience is not your segment. By me sharing with you this, now you should understand the advantage of digital channels is segmentation, specifically identifying which segment you wish to target and target them as precisely as possible for the lowest possible price. Some of these statistics, I just want to share them with you. Facebook as a platform is not number one in terms of website visitors. It is number 3. So you need to know who number 1 and number 2 is. It is their god brother, Google. Because you said website after Google and YouTube. So Google means the search engine, and obviously YouTube is also a search engine. It comprises of videos. So the question is this: does your digital advertising cover Google search and YouTube? Because if you're not and you have no idea what it's all about, the question is why not? Why only Facebook ads? The term that I'm going to use for you is known as omni-channel marketing. Today, if you really want digital advertising to work in your favor, to have as much option as possible, to target both the rich and the poor, then you need to take a holistic view and get yourself schooled in omni-channel marketing, otherwise known as multi-channel marketing itself. Because the truth is that we all use multi-channels. You don't just go to Facebook, you also hang out in Google and you do that occasional search as well. So these are your 3 primary channels that you want to be acquainted with. The stats tell us that the Facebook average revenue per user, otherwise known as ARPU, is $7 per quarter, which means Facebook makes $7 on average in advertising revenues from free users like you and I. It means that they are monetizing user base, because without the free user, they won't have anybody to serve ads to. And that is fairly significant, because $7 per quarter is $28 a year per user. So whilst you are not paying a single cent to be on Facebook, because of us, they serve ads on the news feeds on the right hand side. They serve ads on Messenger. They serve ads in groups as well, and in many other of their placements. And we'll look at placement targeting later on. Facebook knows the value of each of us, and the value is not the same. The value of a user is not homogeneous. What they're telling us here is that the average ARPU is $7. But some of us are worth far more, and some of us are worth far less. The average being 7. Facebook, obviously, on our platform, tracks everything that we do, like our user actions. Every time we click on an ad, every time we visit external website, they track us through the pixel. We participate in groups, we like pages, we respond to ads, and so on and so forth. They turn this data into actionable insights via machine learning. So machine learning is nothing more than just them learning and interpreting your user action and behavior. They do take that information not on an individual level, but on an aggregate, non-personal, identifiable, and give you segments to target. There are behavioral segments, there are interest segments, there are demographic segments. And therefore, you need to exploit these categorizations and subcategorizations, and it helps you do a lot of the heavy lifting. So as far as possible, you definitely want to be leveraging their interest segments, their behavioral segments, their demographic segments to refine your targeting. 96% of access to Facebook is via mobile devices. Most people will use a mobile device, come onto Facebook. After all, Facebook is a social tool itself. The implication is that therefore, when you are formatting your ads, you always format for mobile. There's geographical targeting that you need to think of. So depending on who you're marketing and what situation, the question is, what extent of geography do you want to be running your ads? Do you run it locally, regionally, at a city level, or do you even run it nationwide and wide? There's demographic, which include things like age, gender, language, and these are all very simple things. The question is, do you need to segment by age? Do you need to segment by gender? Or do you let the machine learning do the heavy lifting? The most critical thing that you just need to understand is that interest and behavioral targeting makes up most of your decision making. I would say 80%, the thinking that you will need to invest to target the right people at the right time, the right message, involve interest and behavior targeting 80% of the time. So you need to now nail this aspect to get this right. Or if even if you're not sure, to understand how to test various segments to be able to elicit the best results itself. And we need to test at a segment level. And you don't want to mix segments. The biggest mistake I see a lot of advertisers do is that they mix their segments. What is mixing a segment? You are targeting segments with the same ad, with the same targeting that are totally unrelated. By segmenting, you're able to figure out which segments are not responding well to your messaging, even if you use the same messaging. But segmenting allows you to save money and switch off advertising for the segments that do not respond well. If you need to target a segment that's not responding well, you can now troubleshoot by saying, okay, let me work a new messaging for this unresponsive segment. The real skill in digital marketing in general is not putting the ads together. The real skill is understanding when things go wrong, how to troubleshoot. As mentioned, finally, you really need to know what Facebook is doing behind the scenes, and even to the point of how they grade your ads itself.